Alright, you guys, welcome back to some more Please Be Happy. Make sure you got yourself some coffee or some tea, whatever you prefer to sip on. We are going to be continuing where we left off. So, Miho is finally getting acclimated to being at the library, which is a great thing. I'm really happy that she's kind of settled herself in and is kind of slowly learning where things are as she's learned to read and write. I think that really helped. And then we've kind of seen Lena and Cyrus get really close to being something, really close to committing and confessing their feelings to each other, but it didn't quite happen last episode, so I'm hoping it will in this one. Let us continue on. Work's been quiet today, with only a handful of patrons coming in at all. The few still here keep to themselves, quietly reading and browsing the aisles. I'd normally be bored on a day like this. It's a good thing I have something new to keep me occupied during my downtime then. A few of the worksheets and books that Aspen gave me yesterday were spread out on the desk, out of the way of our guests, but still where I can see them. Whenever I get a few minutes to myself, I practice writing letters or memorizing their sounds. When I have to write down titles that are being checked out, I pay more attention to what exactly I'm writing. I'm pleased to notice that it goes faster now than it did before. I would imagine when you actually understand what the letters are, it would help. I still have a long way to go, but I can feel myself making progress with every word I finish. That sense of pride helps motivate me to keep trying. And when I'm away from the desk, tidying things up or putting books away, I try to think about letters and words. It's nice to have something to focus on rather than just trying to find ways to fill the hours. Just as I settle back down to work after a quick lunch, Juliet comes down from her room with a folded parasol in hand. With a calm nod of greeting, she walks up and joins me behind the desk.
Hey! You're up early.
Yes, I had some daylight errands to attend to. How are you doing, Miho?
Ooh, I wonder if we're gonna get to go on errands with her again. That would be fun.
Great! Check it out!
I show her one of my worksheets, which was usually just a blank piece of paper. On it, I've written my name over and over to practice. The first few, okay, most of them are fairly messy. I think I just get the hang of it by the end of the page, though, and those are the ones that are more legible. Offer the paper to Juliet, who looks it over with a smile.
Great job! I'm very proud of you.
Thanks! I'm proud of me too! What kind of errands are you running?
Not this time. I'm just making a couple deliveries that can't wait until the evening. Will you be alright here by yourself?
Yep! I think I've got the hang of everything by now.
Yeah, that's right. We can't just leave. Unfortunate. Pretty used to handling my duties on my own. If there was ever a problem, it wouldn't be hard to go find Juliet to get her help. That hasn't happened yet, thankfully.
Excellent. I know I've said it before, but you've been a great help around the library. I appreciate your hard work.
Oh, it's not that hard. Besides, it gives me something to do.
That's nice to hear. Don't forget to take some time for yourself, and have fun every now and then, though.
I don't know. I think we've been having fun. Mostly just chasing after other people to find out their stories, but... Because we've had Lena and Cyrus, and then we've had Tommy and his parents, so I'm trying to figure out why necessarily they got divorced or separated or whatever it is that they are. I feel like we've been filling our time pretty well. I think that's some advice that Juliet herself should follow more often, but I keep that opinion to myself.
I will. Actually, I'm going to the museum after this.
Oh yeah, we need to see that exhibit, huh? It's about Korea, right?
Aspen told me there's an exhibit all about Korea going on there. So, I'm hoping maybe I'll learn something useful.
Yeah, that would be nice if we could find some kind of connection to this mystery person we've been looking for.
Useful?
Yeah, like about my person.
Oh, I see.
I'm wondering if we're going to be able to find that person, because it would have been hundreds of years ago. So either they were a fabled, so maybe they've lived a really long life, and maybe we'll see them again, or maybe they'll, like, go down, like, a reincarnation route. Maybe, depending on which girl we choose, that will be, like, kind of our reincarnated person, you know? I'm not sure. They could go quite a few different ways with this. Juliet gives me the same small smile that Aspen did when I mentioned my person yesterday. I know they think it's probably hopeless, but I can't give up. I don't understand how they don't understand, since both of them have always talked about caring for those close to you and making lasting bonds. Still, Aspen and Juliet both have done too much for me to hold that against them.
Well, I wish you the very best of luck. You know you can always ask me for help if you need any.
I know. Thanks.
Anytime. I'm going to head out now, but I'll make sure to come back early enough for you to go to Tipapa.
Sounds good. I'll keep studying and working until then. Bye!
All right.
Goodbye, Miho.
Bye, Juliet. Sounds like a plan. As Juliet goes out the front door, she pops her parasol open to protect her from the sun, then strolls out and joins the day's crowds. That must be hard to try to navigate when you don't want to touch the sun. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, even if you aren't a vampire. I stare at the now closed door, thinking, I wonder if either Aspen or Juliet have ever felt the same way about someone as I have about my person. It's a hard feeling to describe. Something warm. I may have forgotten a lot over the years, but I've never forgotten their face or voice or the way they smelled, like charcoal and paint. All those things are too important. It's kept me going my whole life, been my entire reason for existence, at least until arriving in Wellington anyways. Even with my new life here, I can't just abandon my old one. Not entirely. Maybe they just don't know how much it means to me. I couldn't blame them since I've told them all about how little I cared about everything else. Maybe they think it's like a hobby, something to pursue when nothing else to do. But even here in the library, surrounded by friends, and busying myself with my job, not a day goes by where I don't think of that forest back in Korea in my person. It's okay if Aspen and Juliet don't understand, they don't need to. It's important to me and that's all that matters. So far they supported me in whatever I do. In fact, whenever I think about those two, I feel a similar way as when I think about my person. That warm, safe feeling. It's not exactly the same, but it's close. I don't think that's a coincidence. There have been a lot of new feelings I don't quite have the words for. Like so many other parts of myself, I'm still figuring them out. That may take time, but I have plenty of it. Realizing I've zoned out, I pull myself away from my thoughts and get back to focusing on work and studying. Still have lots of time, but I need to make sure I use it well. It's always good to prioritize things. Only an hour or two later, I look up from my work to see Juliet returning from her errands. Folding up her parasol, she soon joins me at the front desk again.
Hello again, Miho. I tried to hurry back so you'd have plenty of time at the museum.
Oh, that's nice of you.
You can go ahead and head off. I can handle the library for the rest of the day.
Cool! Thanks. I tried to clean up and do as much as I could before you got back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy yourself. You'll have to tell me all about it when you get back.
Will do!
Alright. I hope we find out something in the library, something that like kind of connects us to our past. I think that would be nice. Put away my study materials in my room, and then with a big thumbs up to Juliet, leave the library.
Fresh air again.
Since I've been spending so much time inside since I started working, my walks and time outside are a bit more refreshing than they used to be. The birds singing sound prettier, the scent of food wafting up from the town smells tastier, and I'll bet even the grass feels even softer as if I was in my fox form to feel it. Yeah, I don't feel like she's really, Oh, she's talking about it right now. I was just gonna say, I don't feel like she's really transformed in a while. I need to stay focused for today, though. With the museum as the only thing in my mind, I pick up my pace as I walk into Wellington, heading along the now familiar streets. Pass by the Bell House and glance inside, but I don't see Aspen. She mentioned she'd be working late today, so she must be in the back, or maybe on a break. I follow the directions she gave me yesterday until I reach the building that has to be my destination. Wow, this is a pretty big museum. It's big with parts that go off in all directions. Near the front, there are two sections flanking the entrance. One is round and tan, while the other is made of darker stone and looks more blocky. It's a bit intimidating, but seeing a few people heading in and out is reassuring. Taking a breath to steady myself, I stride on up. The entrance has a huge glass ceiling with glass doors that slide open when I approach them. I don't even have to pay or sneak in.
Whoa.
How wonderful, you don't have to break into a place to see it. The moment I step inside, I can safely say that I've never been in a place like this before. It looked big from the outside, but from the inside, it's huge.
How am I gonna find the Korean exhibit?
I don't know, there should be some signs or something, I would think. I don't even know where to look first. Different paths lead to different types of displays, and I can see floors and elevators going all the way to the top. A family walks by me, following a big arrow that points deeper into the building. Without any better ideas, I decide to take the same route. I'm sure I could ask someone where the exhibit is, but I'll only look around on my own first. If I can't find it for a while, then I'll ask for help. I start to wander around inside looking for anything that I might recognize from Korea. To my surprise, there's plenty of other exhibits that also end up catching my eye. That's kind of nice. You can enjoy other things as well. In one section, a variety of sea life, fish, turtles, and others hang from wires above everything else. They look so lifelike that I think they're real animals at first, but after staring close, I can see that they're just models. Another part of the museum is filled with skeletons of what looks like giant monsters. I can't even imagine what kind of creatures they once were. Maybe dragons. I don't know. Is that supposed to be like dinosaur bones? I'm trying to think. Like, I doubt they have dragons. We don't really have skeletons for dragons. So I would have to imagine it's a dinosaur. I feel like that would be the closest thing. Spotting a panel with some illustrations, I skip over for a quick look. They aren't dragons, but they look awfully close. I've only seen a dragon once or twice in my life, but I've never seen one of these. Huh. It looks awfully close to a dragon. Maybe it could be a dinosaur unless there's wings. No, because there's dinosaurs that would probably look similar to dragons. I have no idea. Other sections are dedicated to human and fabled civilizations. Oh, well, I guess there would be dragons in this world, huh? I keep forgetting, like, oh, there's not just humans here, you know? There could be dragons. There are recreations of old human houses, as well as diagrams showing fairy homes and werewolf dens, plus plenty of others. A tour guide talks to a small group as I walk around, explaining this and that. I go slower through this part, feeling a little nostalgic. I even recognize some of the human technology and knickknacks from long ago. I had no idea they were old enough to be a part of a museum now. She's like, what do you mean? I grew up with those. There's even a big memorial to the war, showing humans and fables fighting against one another. At the front is a painting of when the peace treaty was signed, which was the start of humanity and the fabled coexisting. I like how we're getting a little bit of history about how this world kind of came to be the way it was. So, big war, apparently. I was around back then, but I stayed out of it, just like I stayed out of most things. Honestly, the history doesn't interest me too much, but I'm sure Juliet would love to see this. I'm sure she already has at some point. Just when I was thinking about giving up and asking for help, I finally found what I'm looking for. A large banner with some text I recognize as Hangul, the Korean writing system, is hanging over a number of display cases and tabletop exhibits. I hurried over to get a closer look. I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard what their text is actually called. Interesting. It's quieter up here than it was in some of the lower floors. I'm able to take my time browsing without feeling like I'm getting in anyone's way. At the same time, my heart starts to beat faster with anticipation. I may not know what I'm searching for, but I'm sure I'll know it when I see it. I start at the entrance and slowly make my way through. The first section is full of poetry and carvings, like from the brochure Aspen gave me. There are little animals and people carved out of stone, and even a few made of metal. A number of clay pots and vases sit on pedestals next to them. Most are cracked or damaged, but some look as good as new. Moving on to the next part, there are a few intricate-looking outfits adorning mannequins. Some are just pants and a jacket, but most are vividly colored dresses that hang to the floor. I can almost feel the delicate silk in my hands. If I was still a thief, I bet these would sell for a lot. I love how she still thinks this way, even after living in Wellington for as much time as she has. Like, she still kind of has that mentality of, I need to, like, steal and do whatever I can to survive. Like, she still kind of has that peek out a little bit. After the clothes are paintings. Tigers and birds are common subjects, but there are people and cities too. Others featured gorgeous landscapes and flowers. Never been a big fan of art, but somehow these are different. Looking at them doesn't make me feel sad, but it does make me feel something. Like I'm wanting something I can't have. Suddenly it comes to me, a feeling I've heard about but I don't think I've experienced before. Homesickness. A painting of a green forest could be the one where I was born. I passed through towns that looked like those in the paintings and hid from humans who looked like the ones shown inside them. Not all the memories are good ones, but they're mine. There's not much I can relate to nowadays. In terms of people or places, I have friends now, sure, but I don't have much in common with them. That's never mattered before. But now, I wish I could reach out and touch the paintings before me just to feel something from the same era as me. Of course, they're behind ropes which keep me back as well. I reluctantly start to move on again. Just as I do, a certain painting catches my eye. It's small and displayed out of the way in a corner, as if nobody thought it was important. The edges are jagged and torn, but the crucial part is still there. On one side, there's a fox surrounded by trees and leaves. Its fur is a different color than mine, but it's still clearly a fox. Just across from it is a human-like figure. She's dressed in an outfit similar to the ones I was just admiring, but that's not what stands out the most to me. Overhead are 2 pointy ears, and several long bushy tails peek out from the bottom of her dress. When I look at the fox again, I notice it has more than one tail. Does it have 9 tails? I feel like that's a pretty common number for foxes to have, when they'd have more than one. I breathe in deeply, as if I could inhale the scent of the forest just from this artwork. Another Gumiho. I take in all the details I can. She's smiling, but a sharp fang makes her smile look sinister. The hand at her side has long claws instead of regular fingernails, claws that are clearly meant for ripping. Whatever she's looking at and smiling at is missing, but being a part of the torn section. There's just a small part that remains, a pair of boots on the ground surrounded by the edge of what must be a pool of blood. Only then do I notice the blood around her lips and on the ground beneath her claws. Then the unmistakable bone-white bead hanging from a string around her neck. It's glowing like the moon. Oh. Interesting, similar to our beads. I instinctively raise a hand to my neck, feeling my own bead. It's reassuringly warm to the touch. Somehow I get the feeling that the one in the painting would be ice cold. The portrait of a Gumiho leaves me conflicted. There's that same longing I felt looking at the painting of the forest, but those claws and the blood, those feel foreign and detached. Is this how most people view Gumiho? I would explain the fear and terror that seemed to follow me wherever I went when I was younger. The curses and threats from farmers and townsfolk whenever they saw me. It wasn't until after the war, when the fable became more common in human lands, that I felt comfortable without my ears and tails hidden. Even then, I'd sometimes get dirty looks just for existing. The threats were usually reserved for when I got caught stealing. Still, I've never been like the Gumiho in the painting. Stealing is one thing, but hurting someone? That just isn't me. I wish I'd been able to explain that to them. I wondered how different my life would have been. I tear my eyes away from the painting, but I know I'll be thinking about it for a long time to come. There's no point dwelling on what could have been. I pass through the rest of the Korean exhibit quickly, barely glancing at the artifacts I haven't seen yet. It isn't until I've nearly left the gallery that I see something that makes me pause again. In a small and unremarkable display case among many others, there are a number of delicate scrolls. On each one, a few old-style Korean characters are written. I don't think they're Hangul, but I don't know what they're called. They do look familiar, though. I left my own scroll back at home for safekeeping, but I don't need it with me to compare. The sweep of the brushstrokes, the shape of the characters, and the shade of the ink. Closing my eyes and breathing in deeply, I swear I can smell them. My person. Oh, so we might have found something that was handwritten by the same. That would be interesting. Press my hand against the glass. This is the closest I've been in hundreds of years. After centuries of looking, I finally...
Hey, no touching!
Hey, I wasn't touching. I was just getting up close to the glass. Don't worry about it. Yeah, and don't worry. Part of it's missing, but I don't know who took it. I leap backwards as someone shouts. I look around and see a middle-aged woman wearing a Badger Museum t-shirt stalking towards me angrily. The instincts I thought I had buried kicked in. It's time to run. Backing up, I look around for a getaway route, but there isn't one. I'm surrounded on almost all sides by cases. The only open direction is the one the attendant is approaching from. Think, Mio, think. There has to be a way out of this. You could just say, I'm sorry. Probably not something she's used to saying, you know? Could I jump over the displays? They're way too tall. Maybe if I transform, I could get past the attendant. I have no idea how to navigate the building, though, and being a fox would attract way too much attention in a place like this. If I wait for them to get close, I could probably run right past them like the security guard when I first arrived in Wellington. Heart racing, my panic must show my face because they stop a couple meters away from me, frowning.
Hey, it's not that big a deal. Just please keep your hands off in the future.
With a shrug, they turn around, leaving me alone. That's it. My hands are shaking as I watch them retreat, expecting them to snap around and come back after me. Of course, that doesn't happen, and I'm very slowly able to relax. All I'm left feeling afterwards is a lot of embarrassment. Looking around me, I'm glad that there aren't many people in this area. Nobody's looking at me either, whether out of politeness or because they just didn't notice. My face is burning red, and I look down at the scrolls again, just to hide it. I sigh. Maybe it was silly of me to think I could change myself entirely in such a short time. Considering I'd just been remembering the old days and all the abuse I went through from humans, it makes some sense. After I settle down a little, I turn my attention back to where it's really important. I don't know, Mio kind of reminds me of a younger version of myself when it comes to being criticized for anything. I feel like I had a lot of anxiety and something like that where somebody like went out of their way to scold me, I guess, would make me feel a lot of anxiety, or maybe even make me feel a little bit defensive, you know? So I can kind of relate to the feelings she has. Clearly, I wasn't, like, someone who went around stealing and you know, that kind of nature to have to survive, but she's not used to being confronted, I guess, and her instinct is just to run away, because she's like, oh, danger, I'm in trouble, right? Well, I know that there's these scrolls, these scrolls have to be for my person. They don't help me much on their own. There's a little card in one corner of the case covered in text. Might have something useful written on it, but it doesn't do me any good. I consider trying to copy it all down to have Aspen and Juliet read it to me later, but there's so many words I'm not sure if I can get them all. Gulp looking over at the museum attendant who I was scared of just a moment ago. I do have one option. Summoning all my courage, I approach them slowly. They're just a regular person, I remind myself, like Aspen or Juliet, or even like me now. They're just doing their job.
Excuse me?
I hope that's polite enough. As she looks over to me, her face doesn't look annoyed, more bored.
Can I help you?
I'm sorry for touching the glass. I was wondering if you could tell me a bit about those papers, like, who wrote them.
Like I said, it's no big deal. It's just a safety precaution so nothing gets damaged. Anyway, there's an informational plaque in the corner. It should have all those details.
Yes, but we can't read. We're having trouble with that part. Would they even believe me if I said I can't read? I worry that might make me even more suspicious.
Can't see very well, and the words are so small. Can you read it for me?
Oh, sure. Let's see.
I mean, I guess that's a good excuse. Can't read. Instead of not being able to read very well, I just can't see very well, right?
Says here these were some of the first works by a calligrapher whose name was Jong-in in the 17th century. They were a scholar who lived in Korea and...
So Jong-in. The 17th century? So in the 1600s. That was a while ago. The attendant keeps reading, but I'm not listening. I've already gotten what I came for, a name. Jong-in. The first time I have something to call them, something that's unmistakably theirs. I pretend to listen to the rest of what's being read out loud and thank the person on autopilot when they're done. That's me when I find something in a conversation I'm interested in. I just kind of zone in on that and then forget everything else. Like, it's not even being recorded in my mind. I just kind of focus on one or two things that interest me. My head's not here in the present moment. It's back in the forest where I was born.
Jong-in.
Once they've walked away, I say it out loud, trying out how it sounds. I think it fits them.
Jong-in. Jong-in.
Jong-in. I say it over and over again, making sure I'll never forget. Finally, I have something to go off of. Feeling a little bit dazed from the enormity of the moment, I find my way downstairs and wander around the museum. I can't wait to tell Juliet and Aspen. I mean, honestly, that's pretty incredible that we managed to find something from the same person that's in the museum. But I have to wonder, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, are they still alive? Are we going to actually be able to find this person, or is it more we're just going to be able to learn more about them and maybe find some solace in that, right? I'm curious to know which route they're going to go, because we know that there's people in this world that can live for hundreds of years. Clearly, Miho has done it. I think Juliet has. I don't know about Aspen. Is Aspen just a regular human, or are we going to find something about her? I don't know. So far, they haven't really just said, oh yeah, she's a regular human, but she might be something more. Who knows? I'm so excited that I ended up missing my turn to take me back to the library, lost my thoughts about what'll happen when I get there instead. I don't even realize I've zoned out until I reached the edge of Mount Victoria, right where the city streets turn into parkland.
Oops. Good thing I can find my way back from here.
I'm still within the area that I visited most, so I'll be able to use the mountain as a landmark to find my way back. I hum to myself as I turn back, head abuzz with pleasant thoughts. If I give Juliet my person's name, I'm sure she can help me track them down. That's what she specializes in, after all. Yeah, I'm just worried. I don't know if they're still going to be alive. They might just be a regular human. Who knows? I'm sure Aspen will want to hear all about their life too. She loves stories. I'm sure Jong-in will have a ton. I'm not sure how they'll feel about seeing me again. I doubt they've ever expected it to happen. They'll definitely be surprised that I'm not just the fox they met back then, but a person now, and I have a feeling they'll at least be as glad as I am. I may be halfway home before I realize I'm not alone. prickling sensation on the back of my neck is unmistakable. My instincts are telling me that someone else is nearby. I'm still near the mountain, but it's practically empty here. I can hear the sounds of other people in the distance, but they're all hidden by the trees and hills. I whip my head back and forth, but try as I might, I can't work out where they are. It's a strange and disconcerting feeling, given how easily I can pick up even the smallest animals. Then from the corner of my eye, I spot a bush slightly shuffling. Just as I turned to get a proper look, the silver fox I saw the other day steps out of it.
Oh, it's just you.
Silver fox. It's not possible this is Jong-in, is it? Because there's the other fox in that painting. Miho just said it was a different color than her. I don't think she specified what color it was, right? Okay, let's keep going. I want to find out. Start to bend down, reach out a hand like I would pet a dog, but hesitate. I know from experience that a fox wouldn't respond to that. I'm surprised she hasn't run away already. That's what I would have done. She stares at me without the slightest movement, her eyes locked on mine. My heart jumps as the hairs on my back of my neck stand up. Something is off. Then, without taking her eyes off of me, she starts to transform. I barely have time to be shocked as her arms and legs get longer and her fur retracts, head shrinking and changing into something more human-like. Oh. Okay, I did not... I don't know. Okay, I need to know who this is. I need to know, is this the lady from the portrait? This is probably not our person. I don't think it looks like them. For the first time in my life, I'm face to face with another Gumiho. My throat tightens and goes dry, my vision narrows, and my ears start ringing in shock. It's all as if the world has fallen away except for me and her. The silver and black clothes she's wearing seem to shimmer in the moonlight, like the skin of a snake waiting to strike. Hanging loosely on her frame, the wrap fabrics around her body and face make her appear almost formless. Her only accessory is a bracelet around her wrist. It's a plain leather band with a shining white bead is held in the middle by another loop of leather. Recognize that bead. I have one just like it. Well, almost like it. Whereas mine is a duller, milky color, hers is bright. So bright that it almost hurts to look at. The soft blue glow around it reminds me of the full moon. It's almost like she stepped out of the painting I just saw at the museum. Aha! So it is her. Okay. Probably should be careful around her. It looked like she was covered in blood. So, oh boy. A shawl covers most of her face, but her hair and eyes are still visible, those intense eyes. Her gaze reminds me of steel. While they're the same shape as mine, they're sharper, angrier, crueler. She haughtily tosses her long, flowing hair back as she takes a step towards me. I skip back, keeping the distance between us. When I lived in the forest, I knew to flee when I met a predator stronger than I was. Better to get away alive than risk my life for pride. My survival instinct tells me this is one of those times. The other Gumiho laughs, but there's no humor in it. Sharp and hollow only makes me more uneasy.
So, the human pet still knows when to run. The human... what? Pet. I've been watching you for a while. Ever since you came to this place, actually. Watched you demean and domesticate yourself for the sake of humans. It's pathetic.
Okay, to be fair, Juliet's a vampire, so not just humans.
When you first arrived, I was hopeful that we might be alike. Optimistic, even. I was a fool. I see you now for what you are. Nothing better than a dog, begging for its master's affection and table scraps.
Okay, we also tend to eat whatever everybody else eats, okay? We're not just getting scraps. We're getting the full meal like everybody else.
We are not the same. We are nothing alike.
Okay, and who asked? Huh? Who asked? I didn't. I don't think you guys did. So who asked? Her words hanging there, poisoning my good mood from just moments ago. My first instinct is to run away, as usual. Something stops me, though. I'm entranced. The novelty of this experience of finally meeting another Gumiho keeps me rooted in place despite my fear. No matter what she's like, this is the closest I've been to someone like me. I swallowed the lump in my throat and hope that my voice doesn't shake as much as I think it will.
So what? Did you ambush me just to say that?
Yeah, you tell her, Miho. You tell her. You stand up for yourself. This woman just transforms, starts spewing a bunch of insults. Like, who told you could do that? What was the point of that?
Ambush? You should have known weeks ago that I was following you.
I mean, we did see her, I think, a couple times, but
But I repeat myself. You've numbed yourself to your instincts and your potential.
uh, we're finally happy, and we have, you know, two cute girls that we're getting to know better, and then we have Lena and Cyrus, who are a cute couple that we're like watching too.
I saw you in that place of memories. Saw you gaze upon the portrait of one of our sisters. I hoped that you would open your eyes, as you haven't before. It pains me to see your existence do disservice to our very kind. Now that you have seen what you could and should be, perhaps you can still change yourself, dog. Sharpen your teeth and claws once more. These creatures that you bind yourself to, those human and those not, they are but shackles, slowly squeezing away at which is wild and free in you. Do not mistake my words for sympathy or pity. I would see you gone from this place.
Well, you can tell, and excuse my language, you can tell this bitch that you're happy here. You're not bothering her, so she can leave. Okay?
But so long as you remain, your presence is an eyesore. It pains me to witness. Thus, I will do what I must to cure it, as unpleasant a task as it may be.
Miho, this is your sign to run. I think she's saying she's gonna get rid of you.
You will never be one of them, no matter how much you might crave it. Better to embrace what you are and can be. Anything else is a waste of your abilities.
It's like, why are we gonna listen to some girl who won't even show her face to me? She studies me for a moment longer and then turns away. I feel like I should say something, but I can't find the words. Whether from shock or fear, I'm too dazed to as so much as stammer out a denial. Her clothes melt away into silver fur. She transforms back into a fox. I reach out to stop her, but she flits off and disappears in the darkness without a moment's hesitation. The world around me rushes back in. My skin suddenly feels cold in the night air. The rush of emotions going through my head evaporates, and the adrenaline that was running through me ebbs away. I'm just left alone, standing there. Closing my eyes, I muster the strength that I haven't tapped into for weeks. My being warms itself as I transform, my body following the same motions as the other Gummihos. I try to start chasing her, but my first steps on four legs are shaky. I've grown unfamiliar with this form, almost stumbling over just trying to move. Maybe there's a bit of truth in what she said. I take a few more steps towards the brush, but soon give up. Even after I caught her, what would I say? What would I do? I'd only make a fool of myself. There's a scent of the wind that I couldn't notice as a human, but it is unmissable as a fox. I recognize it immediately from a long time ago. One of my first mornings here, when I first woke up from my den near the mountain and stepped outside, I knew that someone had been there. It was her. She was really following me from the beginning. For a long moment I watched the place where she disappeared, then I transformed back. I don't really feel like a fox right now. I don't know what I'm feeling. Some of what she said is true. I haven't used my talents in a long time. My clumsiness when I'm in my fox form, my own original body, is a reminder of that. And as for degrading myself for the sake of others, that doesn't feel true. I spent my entire life living free and only for myself. It's always been my choice to remain here and not be forgotten. So why do her words stink so much? If I was totally confident in my decision, they shouldn't bother me, right? I feel like it's natural that that would bother you. I mean, that was just kind of all of a sudden out of nowhere and just kind of questioning like your entire existence. I feel like that would be pretty offensive, and that would be kind of like a moment to ponder and reflect, like, okay, am I doing the right thing? And, you know, that's how I've always lived, and then I started to change and become a new person, and now someone's questioning that. Someone's saying, that's not who you are. I feel like that probably happens a lot with just regular people, right? You change, you become a different person as you get older, and some people are like, well, how come you're not cool like you used to be, or why don't you do this anymore, you know? And I don't know what to tell those people. If you moved on and you became a better person, why would someone put you down for that? Why would someone question that? And instead, why wouldn't they be happy for you, right? I don't don't know. It just feels like she's being questioned for all the wrong reasons. Like she's being told, you're not using your talents. Well, she's learning new talent. She's learning new things. She's with new people. She's learning to become human and finding out who she is. What? Who is this random fox girl to question that? Maybe I've forgotten more of myself than I know. The painting at the museum and the other Gumiho herself proved that there's something different about me, something that must come easily to everyone else. The same way all the aspects of daily life at home don't come easily to me either. I feel disconnected, torn between two worlds that I barely know, but I can't help being drawn to. Where do I fit in? Where do I belong? I know what Juliet and Aspen would say, but does that make it true? Their home hasn't been my home for long. I've been a thief and a liar for so much longer than I've been whatever I am now. Without anything else to gain out there, I slowly start to make my way back home again. The excitement I felt about telling Juliet and Aspen everything I found out at the museum has vanished, and I'll have to wait for another time. Dang. Well, I don't like this girl because she just put Miho in a terrible mood. She was like finally discovering things about her past and about her person. And now here she is in this absolutely terrible mood. I don't know. Very interesting though, that Miho's having to go through this. She's kind of having to fight for her new identity, right? I think, kind of as I said earlier, I think a lot of people have to go through something like this. Not in the same circumstance, right? But just changing as a person. I feel like she needs to reassure herself and needs to be reassured by those close to her, Joy and Aspen, of course, that like she's on the right path and she's doing the right things. And if she's feeling happy doing that and she feels fulfilled as a person, who's to tell her that's wrong? After a quiet walk through the empty streets of the library, I quietly sink in, trying to keep Juliet from noticing. I just don't feel like talking right now. It seems to work. I can hear her bustling around somewhere, but she doesn't call out to me when I come in. Without a word, I ascend the stairs to my room as quickly and quietly as I can and climb under the covers. It's far too early to go to bed, but I don't know what else to do. If I'm awake, my thoughts will only be a bother. Better to sleep it off and hope that I feel better in the morning. I mean, I think that's a good idea sometimes when you're like feeling all these mixed emotions. Sometimes like you just need to take a nap. You just need to go to bed for the night. Or maybe you just need some time to kind of cool off and gather your thoughts. It just kind of really depends on the type of person you are. I feel like some people kind of push everybody away, and for them that kind of makes them more lonely and kind of causes those thoughts to chip away at them and just kind of beat them down as a person. And then some people I feel like can just kind of get some time to themselves, and then they'll finally reach out to others and kind of explain how they're feeling. I think it really just depends on what kind of person you are. If you're someone who pushes away people and then that makes you feel more lonely and worse, like definitely do not do that. I think it's important to recognize you do that and then make sure you don't do that. I think for me, I'm probably that kind of person. I feel like I'm definitely somebody who kind of pushes people away. Sometimes I can handle it, but in the end, I really need to talk to somebody about it. I need to just reassure myself that I'm doing the right thing, or maybe to have somebody cheer me up a little bit. As much as I don't like admitting that in the moment. So I kind of want to see what ends up happening with Miho. I don't want her to push Aspen and Juliet away and kind of ignore this problem because it's just going to get worse if she does. Yesterday's events, both the good and bad, linger in my mind while I perform my usual routine of tossing and turning in bed before I get up. Now that the shock's worn off, I feel a little bit better about what's happened. Okay, cool. So her going to bed is going to help her today just kind of sort everything out. I wonder if I've forgotten all about the other Gumiho by the end of it today. I wonder if she'll remember her. Now that I think about it, it's possible I had met the other Gumiho before and just forgot about them. Everyone forgets meeting me, so maybe it works in reverse too. Rather than dwell on the idea, I choose to ignore it. There's no way to know, I just drive myself crazy wondering. I don't know, she's seen her. So I don't know if she would forget her. I don't know if it's like she has to talk to them and then they'll forget her, or if they can just notice her and they'll forget her. And then maybe it just doesn't work on other Gumihos anyways. Rather than dwell on the idea, I chose to ignore it. There's no way to know, I just drive myself crazy wondering. Instead, I keep myself busy by making myself more presentable for work. Heading into the bathroom, I clean myself up using the soaps and shampoos given to me by Juliet. She's helped me so much ever since I started working here. Looking into the mirror for one final check before I go downstairs for breakfast, I can't help but think about what the other Gumiho said, how I've domesticated myself. My spotless face looks back at me, framed by fluffy and pampered hair. Can't deny that I'd let myself be spoiled by others content to just go along for the ride.
Snap out of it, Miho.
I don't think it's a bad thing to let others be kind to you. I think there's definitely abusing that kindness, right? Like, you don't want to be someone who just constantly lives on other people's kindness, right? Like, you need to be a little bit self-sufficient, I think is what I'm trying to say. But I don't feel like Miho's done that. I mean, they've been kind to her, but I feel like she started working there, and, you know, she's kind of learning. She's putting in effort, is what I should say. Lightly pat my face like I've seen Aspen do sometimes when she's getting ready to start her own job. I'm not sure what it's supposed to accomplish, but it makes me feel a little bit more confident. Heading downstairs, I've treated to the familiar scent of fresh-cut fruit and frying eggs, as well as the pleasant sound of Aspen and Juliet chatting about books. When I enter the kitchen, I'm greeted with 2 smiles.
Morning, Miho.
Good morning.
Good morning. Breakfast will be ready soon.
Cool.
Slide to my usual spot at the table and grab some apple slices, munching on those while we wait for the other 2 to get back to the conversation, instead of both of them just look at me expectantly.
So, how'd it go?
The museum?
Of course. What else?
Was everything all right? When I didn't hear from you last night, I was fearing the worst.
Oh, nah. It was fine. They even had what I was looking for. There were some more scrolls by my person.
There's a loud clatter as Aspen drops her fork in surprise. Even Juliet's eyes go wide with genuine shock.
There were?
Are you sure it was them?
Yep, definitely. I'd recognize that style anywhere. I learned a lot about them. Their name is Chongin, and they're a scholar. I don't know what they study, though. The museum person didn't say.
For a long moment, there's silence other than just the sound of eggs sizzling in the pan. Both my friends just stare at me dumbstruck. They're probably wondering why you're not making a bigger deal out of it.
What? What are those looks for?
I mean, that's kind of like one of your only things you really were genuinely curious about in your life. It was something that you looked forward to that wasn't yourself.
You seem awfully calm. I assumed you must not have found anything, or you'd have been back immediately.
Yeah, well, there was some other stuff that happened too. I'll tell you about it some other time.
Tempting to tell them about the Gumiho, if only because I know they'd reassure me about everything she said. That's why I can't tell them, not yet. In a way, I'd just be proving her right.
Well, alright.
I mean, once again, and maybe I'm just a different kind of person, I'm like, who cares? Who cares what this person thought? Maybe you should get some reassurance, like, hey, I'm doing the right thing. And Julia and Aspen are going to tell you the same thing. Yeah, I think you're doing great. You're learning. You're becoming a different person. You did that kind of life for what, 400 years now? And now you're thinking about others. You're enjoying the world around you. Who's to tell you that's wrong?
We'll be here whenever you need us.
Thanks. Is breakfast ready?
Yes, just now. Here you go.
I'm just worried by her kind of keeping this in, which she has every right to. I mean, she can keep this in. I mean, it's not, I guess, Julia and Aspen's business. I mean, she's close to them, but she doesn't have to tell them, right? I'm just worried by holding this in, she's gonna kind of let those thoughts kind of fester, and she's gonna feed them, right? And then maybe she'll have another experience, and it's just gonna kind of keep breaking down her, I don't know, her trust with Aspen and Juliet. Maybe she'll start to see them differently, and I just kind of worry about that. I don't want that to happen for her, you know? Juliet fills our plates and takes her seat, and we all dig in. It's a quieter meal than usual, with only the sounds of chewing and silverware scraping against the dishes. I feel like Aspen and Juliet are having a conversation in their silence. Of course, they expect more from me. I'd expect more from me, too. And right after leaving the museum, I was that excited. I'm still excited, of course, but it's been tempered a little. I still plan to ask Aspen and Juliet to help me get in touch with Jongin, but I want to wait until I can do it with a clear head. Once finished eating, I gather up the dirty dishes and take them to the sink, where Juliet washes the pans and Aspen wipes down the table. Another routine morning.
I'll see you two later.
Thanks for breakfast. My pleasure, as always.
Bye!
With that, Aspen politely takes her leave and heads out the door. Julie and I then go to the library ready to start the day, or end it in her case. I head to my spot behind the front desk and begin getting everything ready. Check out sheets, my pens and pencils, my study materials, and so on.
Are you all set, Miho?
Yep, I've got everything I need.
Wonderful. Well, I'll leave you to it then. Have a good day.
You too. Sleep well.
The way Juliet lingers halfway between me and the stairs, I can tell she wants to say or ask something else. She thinks better of it simply giving me a smile before heading up to her room. Yeah, like, I'm sure they can tell something's kind of off, you know? Like, they're like, I don't know, like, there's clearly, like, more to this story, and she seems like she's acknowledging, like, that something big happened to her. You know, she found out a lot of information, but she's not willing to talk about it more. Like, there's clearly, like, something that's stinging in this happy story, right? And they're just not really sure what it is, and they don't want to press her on it, which I think in some ways is good. Like, see if she's ready to talk about it. If not, maybe bring it up yourselves. But they're just kind of waiting, and it's kind of like awkward because you're like, oh, clearly something happened, but they're just not sure how to approach it, you know? I whistle while I throw open the curtains and unlock the door. By the time I arrive to the counter, ready for the first patrons to arrive, I even manage a light melody. I've been practicing my whistling a lot lately as a way to spend time while alone. Aspen tried to show me how, but she's not very good at it either. I can't whistle either. I don't know. I can't. Like, I can snap and things like that. I can't whistle. I don't know why. The sound of it reminds me of the birds back in my home forest. Before long, patrons start to arrive, and I soon have a list of things to do. Books to check in and out. Books to return. Books to search for. It keeps me good and busy. The hours pass by in a blissful normalness, and I don't have a single thing to complain about. Okay, so it doesn't seem like there's anybody at any location right now. I'm not sure if that's true or if it's just a matter of we have to go there and then maybe we'll find somebody. Kind of just want to go maybe by the Bell House Cafe. I know I usually go to the park just because that's usually where Morlena is with Cyrus. So let's maybe just try going here. Something feels weird in the Bell House today, but I can't quite put my finger on it. What could it be? Did they redecorate? Is there someone watching me? Is there a gas leak? Oh, wait, I think I got it. All the other patrons are reading books, like proper paper books, not just fake books on their computers. The covers are all the same style, so it occurs to me that maybe these are all students doing assigned readings or credit for a test. So glad I don't have to go to school. Still, though, being the only person without a book is making me feel kind of left out. Maybe I'll go hold a book for a while at the library to feel better. There's supposed to be audio? Because I'm not hearing any. That weird. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, it seems like there's just not audio right now. I was like, did my audio go out? The rainy Thursday morning and the library is as dead as ever, as I've seen it. Even Aspen didn't come by this morning simply because she didn't want to get soaked. We'll see each other later instead. The only other patrons here are the ones who don't mind the weather, so I have to make sure they don't drip on any of the books. Before she went to bed for the day, Juliet left a bundle of towels near the door for anyone who needs one. At least it makes my work easier, and the slow day means I have extra time to study. I'm able to remember most of the letters by now and even have a few words. I haven't told Juliet or Aspen about my progress because I want to surprise them with it later. After about an hour or so, I set aside my pencil and gaze out the window with my chin resting on my palm.
Huh. It stopped.
Still cloudy outside, but the worst of the rain seems to be over. I get up and walk over to the window, looking around at the soggy view. I leap backwards in surprise as something suddenly splats against the glass in front of me.
Whoa!
At first it looks like a puddle of water that's stuck to the window, but then it starts to wiggle. I stare at it in confusion as a pitiful looking face forms in the middle, then frowns at me. Suddenly it hits me what I'm looking at. This must be a water elemental. I've never seen one myself before now. That looks very sad. Quite literally sad. They usually come out in rivers or lakes, so I've heard they'll sometimes come out to dry land when it's rainy. This must be what this one did. That has stopped raining, though.
No, you could dry up.
Just like a fire elemental can die if its flames go out, a water elemental like this could be in trouble if it doesn't stay wet. The weather might still be damp, but the sun is starting to poke through the clouds.
Okay. Wait right there. I'll go find something.
I don't know, toss it in some water. I don't know if it can understand me or even hear me at all, but I wave at the window and hold up my finger to show that I'll be right back. After a quick peek to make sure there's no other patrons waiting, I hurry to the kitchen and dig for the cabinets, hoping to find a pot or something that's big enough. The biggest one Juliet has is the one she used to make pasta, and even then that might be too small. Plus, I'm not sure she'd want the taste of water elemental to be there every time she tries to make spaghetti.
Where else?
I could just wake up Juliet and ask her, but I should really try to solve this myself before bothering her. Instead, I start hunting through the other rooms for something that might help. There's nothing in the bathroom nor in the library area. When I check the dining room for a second time, however, I noticed a big bowl on top of the shelf that I hadn't seen before.
Perfect.
Well, hopefully that bowl wasn't important. I have to stand on top of the chairs to reach, but I grab the bowl and fill it half full with tap water before hurrying back to the window. The elemental is still stuck there, like a very sad bumper sticker. It already looks a little smaller, but it ripples with excitement when it sees me, its frown shifting into a watery smile. I lean out the door and skip around to the window, squelching through the wet grass as I
Here we go.
Holding the bowl up to the window, I gently brush the elemental in. To my surprise, it doesn't feel like touching regular water. Instead, it's a bit thicker and a bit sticky, like jelly. Yeah, it looks like one of those kind of like those happy faces or those little like sticky hands. You know what I'm talking about? Kind of looks like one of those, except it's a water elemental. The elemental starts to slide into the bowl and bubbles, which I hope is a good sign. It doesn't mix with the water in the bowl, but instead kind of hovers, with water both above and below it. When it gets itself fully into the bowl, it almost fills it up. The water sloshes over the edge and into my hands, leaving the bowl almost dry except for the elemental itself. The will stop and an uncertain-looking face peers at me from the bottom.
Alright. Let's get you inside and figure something else out.
Yeah, I'm guessing there's no body of water, like, immediately right by the library. Hold the bowl as steady as I can, trying not to spill any more as I go back to the library. Just like the guests of the library, I have to make sure not to get any books wet. There's an empty side table near one of the reading chairs, so I set the bowl down there. The elemental seems fine for now, but it looks worried again. It reminds me a lot of Aspen.
I'm not sure what else to try.
I racked my brain trying to think of something I might have missed in the bathroom or kitchen.
Wait! That bathroom! That's it!
Kneeling down in front of the bowl, I try to reassure the elemental, which is doing its best to stay absolutely still and not slosh.
Okay, don't go anywhere. If you even can.
I don't know, can we like... I know this sounds bad, can we like flush it down the drain or something and it'll get back to water? I mean, I don't know if that would help. Running to the bathroom, I plug up the bath and set the faucet to max.
This ought to work for a bit.
Leaving the water running, I go back and retrieve the bowled elemental. This time I end up spilling more of the water, but luckily it only hits the ground. The tub is about half full by the time we get back, which should be perfect. To turn off the faucet and carefully pour the elemental in.
How's that?
There's a stream of excited bubbles.
Cool. Sit tight, and I'll find something we can use to get you back to the river.
More bubbles. So I guess bubbles are good. Perfect. Luckily, but not in as big of a rush as before, I go to resume my search on the second floor. Because this place is so big and there are still a few rooms I've never seen, I'm pretty sure Juliet wouldn't mind me going in since I'm trying to help someone out. The first room that I tried is a closet filled with towels and bedsheets and laundry stuff. The room after that is locked.
That's weird.
Try the knob again in case it was just
Nope,
stuck.
definitely locked.
I wonder what's in there. I've never paid much attention to that door before since it's so far from my room. I dropped to all fours and stand at the door, but it's too narrow to see anything. None of the nearby door isn't locked, and even better, isn't a closet. Aside from the doorway, which isn't particularly bright, it's pitch black when I step outside. I flick on the light switch and the bulb fizzles and dies right away. It only takes a moment for my eyes to adjust to the darkness, and what had at first just been dark smudges turns out to be a bunch of boxes and assorted junk. Storage room. The whole place is covered in dust. I guess Juliet doesn't come in here either. Peeking into one of the boxes, it's filled with old kids' toys, like dolls and stuffed animals. Another one has some folded up clothes. Just as I'm about to give up and try another room, a half-covered object in the corner catches my eye. Heavy blankets draped over the glass box, which is full of more random junk. I haul it out and remove the blankets, smiling at my find. It's a big fish tank, just like the ones I saw at the museum.
Score!
Yeah, that'll work, for sure. After turning it over to shake out as much of the dust and debris as I can, I triumphantly take the tank to the kitchen sink to rinse it out before hauling it into the bathroom.
Look what I found!
When I set the tank at the edge of the tub, the elemental floats up to the top of the bath and ripples. It takes some maneuvering to hold the tank under the faucet, but eventually I'm able to figure out and fill it up. Then I use the bowl to scoop up the elemental and dump it into the tank.
Perfect, right?
More ripples and bubbles.
Okay, let's get you to the river.
This is an interesting little side quest we're doing. Wrap my arms around the fish tank and lift. And nearly tear my arms off.
That's heavy.
Well, yeah, if it's filled with a bunch of water, of course it will be. I didn't notice it when I was getting the tank set up, but with all that water in it, it weighs a ton. It's way too heavy for me to carry the front door, much less pull it the way to the river.
This could be a problem.
Is there like a cart or something we can haul it on? It seems so perfect, so lucky. Even after dumping out some of the water, I still can't carry it. Sitting down on the tile floor, I sigh. The elemental floats dejectedly.
Miho? What's going on? I heard the sinks and bathtub running.
Don't worry about it. Julia is standing at the door as I look up, wearing a look of concern on her face.
Hey! It was raining earlier, right? Well, there was this water elemental on the window. I tried to bring it inside so it wouldn't dry up while I worked out how to get it back to the river, but now I can't carry this huge fish tank that I found.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem.
A fish tank? Where'd that come from?
It was in one of the storage rooms, along with a bunch of kid stuff. I'm guessing they came from the library's children's section.
Julia purses her lips and I feel my heartbeat start to quicken like it always does when I'm in trouble.
Sorry if you didn't want me to go in there. I didn't know what that room was or what I was even looking for until I found the tank. I didn't look inside the locked room, though.
I love Miho's, like, really nervous, like, way of talking. And she's like, I didn't know what was in there. Juliet's frown deepens, but it doesn't look like she's angry, more like she's sad.
No need to apologize. You've done nothing wrong. Although...
Wait for her to finish her sentence, but it doesn't happen.
Although...
Never mind. It's nothing. Let's focus on helping our friend here first.
She reaches into the tank and scoops a handful of the water before dripping it back into the floating elemental. The creature seems to enjoy it as far as I can tell.
Any ideas?
An idea comes to mind after you mentioned that storage room. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Or if we could find, like, a wagon or something. I feel like a wagon would be perfect for this. Sit back and relax as Juliet departs. I'm glad she didn't get upset after all, but something was definitely bugging her. Wonder what it was. After a couple minutes, I pick up the sound of something rolling down the stairs. I stand up and poke my head out the door and spot Juliet pulling a red wagon behind her. Yes, perfect. A wagon. It has a rope handle and isn't very large, but should have more than enough space for the tank.
Whoa, you're a genius!
With a smile, Juliet parks the wagon next to the bathtub.
As I said, you were the one who gave me the idea. Would you mind helping me lift it onto the wagon?
Sure.
We each take one end and carefully move the tank. Juliet also brought a number of tight straps to keep it in place. Once it's all set up, the elemental is safe and secure. I kneel down to get my face level with the glass.
How do you like that?
This time, the elemental shifts into the biggest grin I've ever seen.
Looks like we've got a winner.
Wonderful. If I watch the library, would you mind taking it back home? You're welcome to borrow an umbrella.
No problem. Be back soon.
Taking a towel and umbrella for myself from the front door, I lead the water elemental outside and onto the path. It's cloudy out and more gray than blue, but at least it's not raining right now. Still, I don't want to waste any time.
Anywhere in the river okay?
The elemental bobs up
I know
and down.
just the place then.
The muddy path slows down the wagon a bit, but it isn't too bad. When we go downhill, I have to be careful not to just let it out of control, but other than that, it's pretty easy. From the bottom of the hill, it's not too far to the spot I had in mind. I noticed a small abandoned ramp into the river way back when I was still living in the woods, but it wasn't too useful to
Don't
me
know
then.
why anyone built this place, but it sure worked out for me.
An abandoned ramp. I wonder if it was for putting a boat into the river? Kneeling near the bottom of the ramp, I wrap the wagon's rope around my wrist to keep it from rolling away, then undo the straps on the tank. With both hands, I gently tilt the tank onto its side. The water and the elements will spill out, flowing down the dirty concrete into the river. Water begins to churn immediately, bubbling as if something huge is coming to the surface. Rushing sound echoes about the empty area before a torrent of water suddenly shoots up like a fountain, arcing clear over me. As I look up, I see the elemental shimmering within the water, catching the light from the sun for one brief moment. The most beautiful, vivid rainbow I've ever seen hovers before me, so close I could touch it. Then the water and the elemental crash back into the river and everything goes still. I smile, certain that I understand.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I'm glad we were able to make it happy. Alright, let's see. We can go to the library or the waterfront. I feel bad I still haven't really talked to him, but I'm just like, I want to keep getting the story for the other two, and then maybe I can go back and get his story, you know? Can learn to fish. Lazing around the library, relaxing in one of the comfy chairs near the shelves when the door opens. Two humans I recognize walk in, Gwen leading Tommy by the hand, of course. Gerby is floating above them. The three of them go right past me, and Gwen takes a seat on an empty table close by.
I'm gonna be right here. Remember not to go too far away, okay?
I know.
Smiling, Gwen kisses Tommy on the forehead, and he makes a grossed out face. Then she pulls out a pen and some papers and spreads them out on the desk, sighing as she starts looking over them. I watch as Tommy, accompanied by Gerby, looks around the kids section for a bit. He pulls out a couple books off the shelves and then puts them back without ever opening them. Finally, he wanders over the edge of the library and gets down on his hands and knees, crawling along the floor. I don't have anything better to do right now, so I go over to where he is as well. I nod at Gerby as I do.
What you doing?
Tommy startles at the sound of my voice and holds up one finger to shush
You're not
me.
supposed to talk so loud. We're in a library.
Great, even kids are telling me off now.
I'm looking for spiders, though.
Ew, why would you willingly look for spiders?
Spiders, huh? Why? 'Cause they're cool?
Yeah, I forgot he's into bugs and insects. Cannot be me. Now that I think about it, he was trying to find bugs the first times I met him. I wonder if the one that I caught for him is doing okay. Probably not, if I'm being honest.
Are you collecting them? Yeah! Do you like bugs too? Not really. They're okay though.
I've eaten a few when I had no other options, but I don't think he wants to hear that.
Nobody does, except me. Everyone thinks they're gross and creepy.
Because they are.
But you don't. That's why I like them. Wanna help me look?
Not particularly, but I imagine Mio will say yes. I'm very interested in catching spiders, but Juliet might count it as helping to clean up a bit.
Sure, why not? I think I know where some are. Whoa, really? Yeah. There's this one corner that's really dusty.
Kirby follows as I take Tommy to the corner in question. Although Juliet keeps the library pretty clean, there are some spider webs and dirt between one of the shelves on the wall.
Wow, you were right! Gerby, come help me look!
Kirby floats down to Tommy's eye level.
Gerby's my friend. You can't see him, but he's here with us. Cool!
Don't feel like explaining the fact that I can see him right now. Tommy closes one eye and peeks in the crevice looking for bugs.
Actually, Gerby's my only friend. I met him when I was looking for a beetle. He looks like a flower, but he's not. If I do find any spiders, I have to get two so they're not alone. Especially if they're married. If they have any kids, then that would make their kids be really sad too.
Yeah. Not like, spiders usually, you know, get eaten after they have kids. I'm pretty sure the female spider eats the male one to kind of give nutrients. I have to think that being taken away as part of a collection would make them sad, but I keep that to myself. I crouch down to help Tommy look, but there's some scraps of paper and a dusty pen on the ground, and plenty of spider webs above them. No spiders in them from what I can tell, though.
Do you know where else they are?
I don't want to take them too far away. Best to stay in the main part of the library.
Maybe up front?
If any came in through the door, they might have set up close by. Hoping we don't find any. I don't want to see them. We go over there and start looking. When Tommy inspects the floor and behind the furniture, I poke around as well, checking some of the corners. As I watch him crawl around, it's hard to imagine getting into fights like I overheard his parents talking about. Seems like a nice enough kid.
Oh, found one!
Ugh. Tommy's kneeling down on the ground, pointing out under a bookshelf. Both Gerby and I look over to see.
Look, see it?
No, I don't want to see it. Don't show me a picture game. Sure enough, I can see some kind of spider hiding in the back.
I see it. Are you gonna catch it? Looks sort of scary. It could still be nice, but I don't know how to reach it. Maybe if we come back later, it'll be easier to get.
That's a great idea. Come back later when I'm not here. I love this idea. This is the best idea we've had. Tommy spends a while hunting the rest of the library for more bugs, and I follow behind him for some of it. Why don't you just go get a book and read about it? Why do you need to go actually find bugs? Actually, Gwen straightens out all the papers at her table and then comes to collect Tommy.
Tommy, what are you doing down there? You're gonna get all dirty.
Looking for spiders. This lady was helping me.
Gwen notices me and I wave.
I'm sorry. I hope you weren't too distracted.
Don't worry, I live here.
Oh, that's convenient.
What was with that long pause, huh? The two of us watch Tommy for a second, who still hasn't given up on the spider by the door. Gwen sighs.
Thanks for keeping him company. He doesn't have a whole lot of friends his age to play with. Meanwhile, I'm trying to study for grad school and raise a kid and work a job and get a divorce all at once.
Oh no, she actually said it. They're getting a divorce. Okay, so they're separated right now. They're not divorced yet. And you're studying for grad school, working a job, raising. That's a lot of stuff.
Well, not that any of that's your problem.
It is now, okay? I will make it my mission to find out more about your story. Gwen tries to rub her eyes and ends up almost dropping the paper she's carrying. She kind of reminds me of Aspen. It seems like she's holding in a lot more than she's letting out.
That's okay. I don't mind.
By tomorrow, she won't remember me telling her any of this stuff, so if saying it helps her to feel better, then it doesn't really bother me one way or another. With a tired smile, Gwen arranges the thing she's holding so that she
Come
has
on,
a free
Tommy.
hand.
We need to get going.
Fine.
Alright, Tommy, you can save your spider hunting when I'm not around, okay? Tommy looks under one last bookshelf and then finally stands up. Gwen leans down to dust off Tommy's knees and pants before taking his hand.
Thanks again. If you live here, I guess we'll probably see you around. I've got a lot of studying I need to do, so I'm sure we'll be back. Say
Bye! If you see any cool bugs, save them for me!
I know I accidentally cut her off, but I actually feel like that's how this would have gone. Like, she would have been saying something, and then Tommy would be like, bye!
Will do. Bye!
Kirby waves goodbye to Fancy floats out the door at the humans. Can't help but feel a little bit bad for Tommy and Gwen, and for Tommy's dad as well. It seems like both parents are doing their best, but Tommy has his own problems too. And without even trying, I know more about all of them than they're aware of. I have a feeling that won't change, especially if they're going to be back frequently, like Gwen said. Now that I'm on my own again, I return to my chair I was occupying before and settle down for a proper nap. Nice. That's what I would do too. All day it's been showering on and off, raindrops still pattering on the roof even now. At least the frogs outside are comfortable, happily croaking away in the dark night. To stave off the cold, I keep a warm blanket wrapped around me while sitting up and watching TV. I don't really understand all the complicated things that the presenters are talking about, but it's interesting to see the reports from all around the world. My ears prick up as I hear someone walking to the door, a series of 3 knocks gently ringing out against it. Always 3 from Juliet.
Yeah?
I'm making some tea. Would you care to join me? I can make some hot chocolate as well.
Ooh, that sounds delightful. I think I'm going to end the video here, though, mainly because I have to go. I have something I'm supposed to be doing today. But I think I'll end it here, because I want to really have time to listen to their conversation and see what the next day brings us. So we'll end it here, and I'll save it on this page so we know what's going to happen for next episode. But I think we did quite a bit. We went to the museum. We got to meet that other silver fox. And then we just had a few interactions after that. And I think that'll make for a good episode. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate you, and I shall see you in the next one. I'll try to make it a little bit longer. How about that? Have a good one.